Yo, I usually go by Zach. Today I'll be talking to you about the first house of astrology. I want to try to move away from the cliche and try to bring you some more diverse and unique ways of looking at it. I love thinking about the first house, dwelling on it, meditating on it, and all of the houses, not just the first house. I think the houses offer, very mutable ways of perception throughout your daily life that can, help and, just give a unique insight. Bringing unique and mutable and different perspectives on life and astrology is something I really want, people to get out of my channel. Please excuse any of the edits you see or if, things seem a little choppy. This is my first video using a mic and, editing it, so try to do my best. So, what are the houses? The houses are 12 areas. If you want to say the sky or zodiac or, just 12 areas of life that you can find different energies with inside. The first of the houses usually represent, the body, the physical vessel. The constellation or zodiac sign Aries was born out of here. This is a very immediate and physical energy. It is a firehouse, so a lot of action. You know how in certain diagrams they'll have like the vibration level of like solid, liquids, and gas. I like to think that solids is kind of like a good representation to look at it because they're so close together. The first house you can think of like close in proximity, friction, almost like a lot of personal problems and personal frictions. This is why I'm gonna bring this up again. All the fire houses are always in harmony with air houses. So for example, the first house always sextiles Aquarius or 11th house energy and Gemini or 3rd house energy, and it's always going to be on the polar axis of Libra or 7th house energy. And I'm not sure what they really call it, biology astrology or bioastrology. The first house represents the head area. Now I find this interesting because the sun is actually exalted in Aries, or the first house, and the sun represents conscious awareness. And most people or generally would say that consciousness or awareness is mostly in the head area. And this I'm planning on making another video of this, but this is why I think Aries or the first house energy is the true ego. When people are talking about the ego, I think they're really talking about energy stemming from Aries in the first house rather than Leo in the 5th house. This energy I like to associate with speed and quick movements, even though some may tie it to Gemini and Virgo mercurial energy. I think the first house energy in Aries and Mars is like quick, violent movement. It's like let's say something that just popped in was like a car crash or like a track athlete. A track athlete, that's basically their main objective is to go at the fastest speed possible. They're using a lot of muscles, take a lot of muscle, supportive foods. And, not to get too negative, but a car crash is like a violent collision. In Greek mythology, they try to the symbol for Aries is a ram. So it's kind of like that. That's why I always think of like friction in that. The particle is always like having violent neighboring energy. It's kind of like something I always think of that may represent like Aries in the fourth house. Is kind of like a hectic home, or like a very like home with a lot of movement. Something I'm like a picture I'm trying to paint is like I guess like violent vibration, or just like fast vibration. That's basically what I'm trying to say. I also think the violence is represented by this energy. But when I say violence, I don't just mean like typically just fighting and just hot-head energy. I think of the pure meaning of violence. Think of like starting a dirt bike. Just like you have to kick it. That's a violent energy. Or like when you get sick, some of your immune cells have to fight off incoming like intruders to your body. It's just like the pure meaning of violence. No right or wrong or like moral input. Think of like just using your muscles, like exercising in order to grow. Or when you do use your muscles, over time they break down, and they have like, through that violent movement, you become stronger. And this is why like a lot of first house people or Aries people, they're very strong, because most of their lives are kind of themed or built that way. They're always in some sort of chaos or like friction, so they're constantly getting stronger. I like to think that Aries represents wants and quick desires. If the eighth house is ruled by Pluto, or as some would say co-ruled, then Pluto is kind of like longing and long desires. Mars is like immediate, like I need it, like I want it now. Pluto may go about it strategically, whereas most of the time Aries is like may just go all out for it, like regardless of external obstacles or something. Mars is the lower octave of Pluto. So just my input, or how I see Pluto, is it's a slow cleansing. It destroys like what isn't needed. So but that may be on a collective level, like like banks or like companies, or groups of people. Mars is kind of like immediate, like cleaning your room, or going to the doctor, or removing like a cancer cell, or removing cutting off people. Aries is the polar opposite of Libra, so the way they may handle dying relationships, just let it be. The first house is what I like to say is the first practical identification. So a lot of people will say that the first house rules your appearance, and that is true, because depending on like where you are spiritually, practically the first thing you see from somebody is their appearance. Now I know there's a lot of different type of people in the world. So some people may see auras, some people just may get a certain sense, but practically in the world, the majority of the ways you see someone is through their body and their appearance. Something that came to me today is maybe the first house can represent eyes, like and the face, it could be the face and the eyes. Something I thought of was, if eyes are the window to the soul, then maybe it could represent, like, okay, this is the eyes of the first house. Pisces is behind the first house. So when people say the eyes are the window to the soul, you could look at it as is behind the eyes, or behind the first house, is the 12th house. Going back to the first house being the true ego, I say that to say this. I think the ego just means physical makeup. It's how you dress your spirit up, basically, because when I get to the second house, that's really the makeup. But I think the reason the first house is the true ego is because the sun is in exaltation. Now, the reason people may say Leo is the most egotistical is because the first thing you may notice about Leo is, a certain brightness. But when people talk about ego, what they're referring to is their physical persona. And I believe that to, belong not solely to the first house, because, one thing I'm gonna love to get into is shared energies. And I believe, if something trines, like the first house trining the fifth house, of course they're gonna share certain similarities. Also, going back to fire houses being harmonious with air houses, one thing that I forgot to say earlier is that first house energy and first house people and Aries people, they may get into a lot of relationship problems. Aries is a very independent, soldier energy, and it doesn't really like to be told or be guided, or having to be in that type of energy. So I just wanted to say that fire houses are always going to deal with some type of communication or relationship issues. Another thing I want to speak on is birth and death. Now, of course, death is related to 8th house in Scorpio, but I believe that the first house can deal with both of them. And I'll give an example. I believe that birth deals with again, that first and fifth house kind of trine energy, but focusing on the first house, it's when the doctor or whoever delivers you, they're the first person to see you. They're gonna know if something's wrong based on the appearance, whether it's the appearance of you, the fetus, or the baby, or whatever is wrong with the pregnancy. And whenever there's pregnancy, there's gonna be blood, something that's also related to the first in Aries energy. But regarding death, and traditionally the 8th house is also ruled by Mars. But the reason I want to bring this to light is you can kind of see where Mars deals with birth, with blood and inception, and something internally being expressed out violently. You can kind of look at that as death also, because I think that Mars is how you're born and how you die. Think of like a ammunition wound, or like a stabbing. That's a violent, quick action that may lead to someone's mortality. This energy also squares earth and water, two elements that can slow down speed and fire. this has been my first astrology video. I greatly appreciate anyone who checks it out. In the future, the videos are going to be way more smoother. I'm just experimenting right now, but appreciate the love. See you soon.